Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." This passage is when God decides on how he was going to create man, what man would look like, and what man would embody. He says, "Let us make man in our image." An image is a physical likeness or replication of something. During the summer youth series last night, the topic was truth on God. To understand God better, all we have to do is take a closer look at ourselves. We are all made in the image of God. So our qualities and characteristics are part of what makes up God. Sin was introduced into the world in Genesis chapter 3, causing man to take on characteristics that would separate us from God. Isaiah chapter 59, verse 2. But we do have qualities about us that are in the image of God. I think of times of turmoil that we are facing in our country today. The compassion we feel for families of the victims of the riots or the injustice that is being done. The love we feel that motivates us to go and participate in cleanup after a terrible storm. Or the urge to spread the gospel to a world that is hurting. All of these things are the image of God that is bursting forth as we see the images, hear the stories, and understand the hurt this world is going through. To understand God and ourselves better, we need to continue to study the life of Jesus, how he interacted with people, and how he reacted to society. John chapter 4, Jesus meets a woman at the well that is not living the way she should be living. As Jesus lays her life's choices out to her in verses 16 through 18, this astounded her, and she thought he was a prophet. Jesus says in verse 35, "Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are already white for harvest." Jesus was not afraid to step out of the comfort zone of society and speak to people who he did not associate with. Jesus was not afraid to make those around him a little uncomfortable by reaching out to someone in an unconventional way. Jesus tells the apostles to look and see the fields are white unto harvest. The time was then for the Samaritans. Their hearts were ready and they were seeking. The love Jesus had for people comes from the compassion he had for everyone. In John chapter 11, Jesus hears of the death of his friend Lazarus. Upon arriving at the home, Lazarus had been dead for 3 days. Jesus looks around and witnesses the sorrow surrounding this death, and out of love for these people and mankind, we read that Jesus wept. John chapter 11, verse 35. Jesus did not weep because Lazarus was dead. He knew what was about to happen. Jesus told the sister of Lazarus that he will rise again. We read that in verse 23. The love he had for mankind drove him to tears. He saw the pain and sorrow from losing this man, and the emotions overtook him. Jesus spent a lot of time speaking to crowds, visiting the synagogues, but also showing lessons on how to live by the way he lived his life. The ultimate example is his willingness to go to the cross and die in a way of complete humiliation. John chapter 27, verse 54. So when the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they feared greatly, saying, "Truly, this was the Son of God." The events leading up to this had gotten the attention of those around him. He would not call for the angels to get him down off the cross. He would not retaliate back when he was spit on or hit. And he would not respond to the people mocking him and beating him. When the suffering was over and Jesus had died, the soldiers guarding Jesus felt the earthquake, saw the sun veiled, and witnessed the way Jesus responded to the humiliation. Their response was, truly, this was the Son of God. As we read in Genesis chapter 1, we also have these same characteristics or traits within us because we are created in the image of God. We have the compassion to look and see the fields being white unto harvest. We have the love to grieve with those who are grieving and also rejoice with those who are rejoicing, and the self-control to control our tongues and our actions to demonstrate what the image of God looks like in the face of turmoil. My challenge today is to look for those ways to show compassion. Love and ways that we can demonstrate to the world what the image of God is like.